Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the RSL. I'm Tasteless, and joined with me is Gemini. We had quite a bit of time off there between the first 4 days of RSL and us picking it up now.
Yeah, it's a little break. Of course, Home Store Cup was going on, so now we are all back, ready to go into the playoffs of RSL. It's going to be super sick. We got lots of great games coming up throughout these next couple days, and I'm very excited to get started with this one.
Yeah, I'm glad we had a little bit of time off here. We're going to be squeezing all of the RSL together, basically banging it out, so that we will just barely have enough time to then send all the pro gamers and casters into the Esports World Cup. So it's been a bit of a marathon, but I'm glad to be back and doing this.
Yeah, generally in the future, we're going to probably try to split it up just a little bit, space it out a little bit more. But of course, the schedule for EWC and everything has been a bit rushed, so we kind of had to make amends. But regardless, I think it'll still be very fun. It's been awesome so far. I've only been able to do one of the group stages so far to be able to cast, but I'm really excited to be here for some more of the playoffs.
Yeah. By the way, guys, we are sponsored by archonstudio. They're the official broadcast partner of Season 1. You need to check out their StarCraft tabletop miniatures game. It's not out yet, but it's going to be available for pre-order later this year. Go to their website. Not just the StarCraft miniatures game, but they've got a lot of other great products on their site. Really cool. Basically, world-class board game making here from them. So we really appreciate their love and support. And also, guys, if you have been enjoying the RSL, consider signing up for our Patreon. It's patreon.com/ReviveSC2. We've got different tiers. The higher tiers could allow you to participate more in our tournaments. And this is really where StarCraft 2 is right now. It's going to be up to the community to decide the size and the scope of future tournaments. So we need your support. We hope to earn it. Consider checking out our Patreon.
Yeah, we also got merch. I'm specifically wearing one of the shirts today. It's super sick. It's very nice. It fits nice and well. It's all cozy and comfy. You got your sweatshirts, your mugs, your pins to put wherever pins do go. But yeah, lots of merch as well, and you can also get a discount if you are a Patreon supporter. So go check that out at tastelessthreads.com.
Yeah, we got 20% off for anybody who's a Patreon supporter, and we've got a bunch of other stuff on there as well. So I think you'll find something you like. So consider checking that out too. So here's our schedule right now. You can see we wrapped up the first week, the first 4 days of RSL, and now we'll be starting every Thursday, going all the way to Sunday here.
Yeah, lots of playoff action. We're going to be doing 4 days straight with a couple of days break starting again the next Thursday as well, and finishing everything off on the 13th on Sunday. Good old championship Sunday for us over there as well. Should be very nice.
Yeah, the groups that we've had so far, you can see the results over here. And it's been exciting. You know, we had the choice when we started the RSL to opt, with this being like maybe something live where we had anybody who's in Seoul participating. And after some deliberation with everybody who's been running this tournament, we kind of thought, well, there's so many good players internationally now. Let's have a tournament that, at least for the first few seasons we're doing now, can be online. So we can really see the competition between, you know, not just Korea, but with the rest of the world. And I got to say, we've had an all-star lineup for the first 4 groups. Yeah,
and also some interesting surprises as well. I mean, if we never opened it up to, you know, any different player, then Cham would not be the one topping Group C, which is a really cool story, and we'll be seeing him today as well. Unfortunately, against Clem, so it's going to be a bit rough for him. But regardless, it's still cool to see everybody. I mean, Rainer also in there as well. So here's the actual playoff bracket that we'll be doing. So today is going to be Classic versus ByuN as our first match, followed up by Cham versus Clem, like I just mentioned. Some excellent games to start off.
Yeah, and tomorrow we're going to be going to the second half of the bracket. That's Hero and Shin and Cure versus Rainer. And it'll continue on. You know, we'll have the losers on July 5th. We'll then go right back into the winners semis on July 6th. And then we'll have that final week to come out here and decide who's going to be the very first ever RSL champion.
Yes. I'm liking the double limb format as well. I think it's nice to always give players a little extra chance after the group stages, so that way they don't just win or don't just lose like one best of 5 that maybe it's just like a bad day or something and then they're out. Give them a second chance at least to keep going. Will make things potentially more interesting.
Yeah, so our first 2 players are ready to go here. Classic, remembering to bring the trophies of the past here, ByuN.
Nice.
Not
a very bare
not a decoration on the wall.
This is the most identical looking backgrounds as well. It's like literally
the same
color curtain. It's like the same type of corner that they're in. It's like, oh my god, I can't believe how identical this is outside of the trophies.
Map 1 is going to be Kill Switch. We're actually getting that loaded up right now. Classic versus ByuN, a match we've seen so many times before here in the GSL. Now in the RSL to decide who will advance to be a little bit deeper here in the winner's bracket. In the center left is ByuN. The center right is Classic.
Nice. Yes, this is actually one of the newer maps that we've added into the pool as well. We had a community vote that happened to get some extra maps in, and now that we are into the later stages of the tournament, best of 5s, best of 7s, and whatnot, we might be seeing these a little bit more often, so it'll be kind of interesting. This one's very interesting as well, because there's actually a massive gold mineral thing behind the main bases as well.
Right.
So a lot of interesting ways to potentially move around or expand in different weird ways that you've not really seen before.
Yeah, I like that we're getting more maps that are a little bit on the experimental side for StarCraft 2. I feel like for a couple years they really didn't do anything that was maybe uncomfortable for pros to play on. Not, I can't even really blame pros for wanting to have maps that are on some level formulaic just because you practice so much. But I do think, and this was done, I think, especially well in ASL, you know, for StarCraft 1, where they just had a couple maps with ideas that really sort of pushed the boundaries of how we understand the game and kind of forces the pros to maybe get creative. Maybe we see a new strategy we haven't seen before, or maybe we don't see anything at all.
Yeah, maybe it just totally stock standard, regardless of what map it is, but it is cool to still see some of these new ones get added in. There's also going to be an eBay block, it looks like, for ByuN, so making it a little bit awkward for Classic to expand as quickly as he would want, and it's going to be just a normal Reaper to follow that up as well to continue the aggression. But actually, it's going to be Classic that's expanding over to a third base location instead, so we'll just be going for the forward third, just disregarding the eBay entirely, and ByuN, of course, will cancel it. That does, of course, leave Classic a little bit vulnerable to some certain attacks that may be coming out kind of quickly from ByuN if he wants to go for that, but the pros are usually, they kind of know what they're doing with these types of things. I wouldn't recommend, a Diamond League player to try this as a response, but I wouldn't be surprised if Classic has a very calculated response to any type of aggression that ByuN might try to throw out.
Yeah, the third base for Protoss, it's funny because this is normally a concept we see applied a lot against Zerg, right? Is that they need to get their base up, and so they'll take a kind of uncomfortable location. So you're definitely right in that you need to be a really experienced player to manage a position like this. But yeah, Classic should definitely know, the ins and outs of everything that can be had in these spots. By the way, on this map, third base is an example, a pretty close push distance from where the Terran's at. This is a map where you are pretty close together.
Yeah, the aggression definitely should be on Classic's mind when he is in this position especially. I'm actually really curious what he's trying to do with this. He's actually going to go Twilight. A lot of times you see Protoss players, when they go for this forward third, go for a Stargate and then even Phoenix as a response, because a lot of times the Terran player will go for some kind of early Hellion harass or Cyclone or something to punish it, but it will be Twilight. The Stalker also actually getting body blocked by the Reaper a little bit, will get killed off, but not before getting traded with the extra Stalker as well. So 3 Marines and a Reaper will get killed off. That's limiting the potential push power of ByuN if he wants to go for something heavier later, but it will just be the Cyclone for now from ByuN as the follow-up. And will Classic actually have enough Stalkers at home to defend against this is the next question. He's already got the battery there as well, so I think he should be pretty okay for now.
That was kind of an unusual interaction there.
Yeah.
You see the 2 Marines chase down a Stalker and then actually get the kill on it with the Reaper kind of there to help out. You're 100% right, Gemini, that the battery is going to be pretty helpful here. But, with Terran expanding here, he might be able to get something done. For now, the tech is very, very standard for Classic. He's going to be getting his Blink Stalker upgrades. He's getting his 3rd Nexus. He wants to play a defensive game. But that Cyclone and 4 Marines is on the move out right now.
Yeah, Blink's going to be pretty far away from finishing, of course. Going for a double Stalker Sentry is going to make it so that way the Blink does end up being a bit more delayed. Very fast third base coming in as well, trying to just round that all out since he was forced to take the forward one anyways. Pylon is spotting in the top here, so should be able to see this drop on in, and does have units prepared this Classic, so that's actually going to be thrown away. Also, these are slow zones on top of these the main bases as well, so you got to be very careful with those medevacs if you're trying to go in and maybe don't expect them to actually have stuff prepared. They could easily get a jump on you.
So the Robo's coming along. Terran right now is just sort of building up all the pieces of the puzzle to eventually have a push. It should be probably Terran trying to push in and attack Protoss. The Protoss probably trying to hold that off. We've talked about this quite a bit in general in PvT, but the fact that it seems like the longer the game goes on, assuming the Protoss plays this way, the longer the game goes on, where you can just, kind of play keep away, play hide the ball and take more bases and continuously get splash damage built up here. It gets tougher and tougher for the Terran to actually come out here and push. And while that isn't true for all Protoss players, it's certainly been true for the likes of Classic, who is maybe the most conservative, kind of paced out Protoss player that we have. He's really in no rush to try to end the game or do anything crazy. So I'm expecting to see an attack here from ByuN. We'll probably have to wait for Stim to be done. But behind all that for Classic, he's getting the Zealot charge and he's getting the Robo support bay and everything else he needs.
Yeah, Classic is definitely kind of the replacement of stats nowadays, I feel like, whereas stats used to be the super solid macro god, just never pushing out super crazy, just trying to prolong the game. Classic has kind of taken that position in the Protoss community, I guess you could say, but I lost the word. I don't know what I was trying to say exactly with that one, but regardless, we know what I mean.
In the Protoss family.
No problem. We're all connected with the Kala anyway, all that stuff. We're a community, all of us. We think alike. But yeah, it's going to be Colossus coming out, and Classic's going to be in no rush to end this one. He's going to be expecting something from ByuN to come across the map, and that is going to be starting just about now. The medevac is over on the right side. Did get dropped around in a knife.
Look at that.
What? That's the tiniest little spot. I can't believe he doesn't see that at all. So now he's going to have to think on his feet a little bit and how to actually defend all of this.
Yeah, the Zealots on the ground are going to make it hard to do anything. He can drop over here at the third base. Sorry, the second base, third base. You know what I'm saying. It's the natural expansion there. And, it hasn't been the smoothest part of the game here for Classic. The push is inbound. This is going to hit really hard. The Thermal Lance is halfway done. That gives Terran more than enough time to set up a foothold here. I think Protoss wants to try to come out here and force a siege and then maybe run back, yeah, just like that.
Perfectly done by Classic. Even recharged one of his sentries to make sure he has enough force field and guardian shield energy for whenever this push does actually happen. Widow Mines are going to get some decent shots, and the Medivacs not being noticed, going off into the main base. This point from ByuN is a great spot to be able to go for this type of an attack, forcing all of the warpins in the main base as well, while then the left side will get attacked by the main army, and that will get dislodged totally fine, but the drops are just ravaging these two mineral lines.
Yeah, the drops are going to come in here. It seems like both sides are held. It's not without the losses here for the Protoss, but, you know, really what Protoss wants to do is just sort of stabilize here. In fact, is he going to just take this all the way home?
Yeah, he might even just be able to push it.
Yeah.
This is a massive snowball moment for Classic. A lot of the units wasted in the drops were actually deflected fairly decently. At first, it looked like they were kind of destroying the mineral lines everywhere, but does actually get enough warpins to be able to defend against that, and does just force ByuN all the way back to his base. This is actually looking pretty decent for Classic. Still up a good 10 probes is pretty good.
Yeah, nicely done there. So for now, ByuN's in a really bad spot. Doesn't mean he can't win the game, but he's got, obviously he has a later third because he intended to close the game out on 2 bases. Classic, you know, he took some lumps there, but the reality is, like, he's probably still fine. Most importantly for him, he has tech that's continuing to get more sophisticated, which means it's just harder and harder for the Terran to fight straight on. Like in that last engagement, we saw that both the drop was held and then the push was wiped, and he actually chased him all the way back, maybe overextended a little bit. But, you know, with the Warp Prism out now, I think this is going to be Classic's first turn to have the pendulum swing in the other direction. He's going to be the aggressor now, and he might be able to punch this third command center off of this landing spot right as it gets... Oh my god, oh my god!
If he had more Stalkers there, that could have been so risky, but it's still a really awkward position for ByuN. Forced to micro back into his natural, forcing the third to get lifted as well. The SCVs are even going to have to maybe take part in this fight if he wants to actually take this position. And Classic is doing a good job of not over-committing, but just continually forcing this engagement to make it as hard for ByuN as possible.
Yeah, he's doing a great job juggling the Colossi here. The counter drop, it's just too small in size and scope to really do anything. In fact, it's 13 SCVs killed. I don't believe a single probe was shot down in that drop. I think ByuN would have had to do that manually. The fourth base is going to start any second now, and then this push, I think he can just force this to lift.
Yeah, this is going to continue to be very difficult for ByuN to hold. He could even just do what ByuN was doing before and just take that Warp Prism, go right into the main base and split the army. It's going to be way more difficult for ByuN to respond to that than Classic was able to just before. And he might even just go for a big frontal push anyway. There's so few Vikings, and the Stalker count has finally gone up. Yeah, we can blink on forward, target those 2 Vikings down. Now these Colossi have nothing to go against them. Unfortunately, not too many more force fields are available, so it will be a little difficult to constrict his movement, but I don't think it matters. I mean, he's got so much army. He's got the Prism still there. GG is called Classic with a solid first game victory.
Yeah, beautifully done. I think ByuN, for a little bit there, he actually did look kind of scary. Yeah. When he was moving out, the drop seemed pretty strong. It did seem like Terran was a little bit squishy in the actual push itself. Classic definitely made the right call in moving out and forcing the tanks to siege and then running back away. If the tanks could have been sieged up and the reinforcements could have gotten in a little bit more neatly, maybe the third base would have fallen. But, you know, it goes in line with the whole thesis we've had in PvT right now, which is that the Protoss is less burdened to end the game, and instead it's more required that they just kind of drag the game out and then get all these powerful techs that make it really hard for these kind of balled up Terran armies to push across the map and attack in.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely... Like, you see it in these games where the Terran is the one that generally has the earlier power spike in the mid-game.
Yeah.
Whereas the Protoss, like, sure, you could do like maybe like a 4-gate blink or something like that, but generally right after that stage, like after the 5-6 minute mark, is when the Terran really starts to ramp up. Their production comes on in, and then they're the one that they're supposed to be on the map. The Protoss, if you're trying to really end a Terran at that point, it's very awkward. It feels weird to do. there's no real actual avenue for that. So you need to soak it. You need to just wait it out a little bit and then go for the counterattack, just like Classic did that last game.
Okay, we're going to go to the map Persephone here for game number 2. Obviously, this is a best of 5. Classic right now with a 1-0 lead. Let's see if ByuN can come up with something stronger. Maybe not even something different. Maybe the same, but, you know, a little bit more effective here because Classic looking very good. On this map, both players sharing the left side. Classic at the top and ByuN at the bottom.
Yeah, this one has been in the pool for a little bit, so players should be a bit more familiar with Persephone. Maybe ByuN was a little bit uncomfortable with that last map as well. Maybe not expecting Classic to pick it earlier. Actually, I'm not sure which player picked it first, but the fact that it was a smaller map does kind of lead towards the option that he went. I liked the eBay block idea, going an eBay block, forcing the third forward. It was a bit unfortunate that the Stalkers kind of traded with the early Marine and Reaper so well. Maybe thwarting an idea that maybe ByuN wanted to try to do something a little more aggressive with the Cyclone or something and then lead up to that big tank push. But the idea for ByuN on that map being a smaller map, I think was pretty sound. It's just Classic felt like he just really had everything written down perfectly, just read it totally fine, and it was really just no issues from it at all.
So in this game, if I don't want to try to be too prescient here with what's going to happen, but I do feel like it's pretty safe to say Classic is not going to need to do anything too crazy or off meta.
I feel like ByuN is the one that's going to be doing something weird, if anything. Classic is going to be totally fine, just do the same Twilight Blinks, you know, Stalker, early century hallucinate stuff that a lot of the pro houses have been doing in PvP lately.
So, you know, for ByuN, the question is going to be how exactly will he get in here and do any damage? And I don't know that the answer is very obvious for that. For a little bit, it actually looked like ByuN might have had a good setup with that drop and the push out. I mean, the idea was there. You force that third base. The third base is even just a little bit closer than the second base, and you're on a map that's already kind of claustrophobic when it comes to receiving a push. It just gets there much faster than it does in other maps, and it's, I think, not the easiest map to try to do a counterattack or anything like that on. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what ByuN wants to come up with here this time around, but you know, Classic just seems like right now in this meta, he's one of these players, the more games like this he plays, the stronger he looks.
Right.
You know, it's all you're really doing. You're almost like the Zerg right now in this matchup. A lot of times Zerg, not always obviously, Zerg have all sorts of timings and rushes, but a lot of times one of the best ways to understand Zerg and how you usually playing is that you're just trying to build up and keep yourself out of range to the point where you're too big to fail. Right? Yeah. You've got the tech, you've got the map, you've got creep everywhere. It seems like a lot of Protosses versus Terran at least are playing like that.
Yeah. Especially now that we have the early Sentry ability with the recharge, getting hallucination scouts. It's like an early Overlord scout or something where we can just send it in, get some solid scouting information, and then we can just react based on whatever the Terran is doing. And this time it is going to be a 2-gas opener from ByuN into a fast Widowmine drop, so a little bit of a switch up compared to last game. We'll see if Classic is going to have his things prepared to deal with this. He should know exactly what's coming because he does have those hallucinations going across the map. Blink, of course, actually, I was going to say it could actually be charged because a lot of people have been doing that, but the fact that it was a Widowmine drop opener should mean that he is going to go for Blink. Would be kind of strange to go charge right into a Widowmine opener, but regardless, it will be that, so we'll see if Classic's going to be able to defend against this okay. Does just barely miss the drop, but should just know in general the timing of when this should be coming.
So this is going to be coming right up into the main. There is a Raven being cranked out here. That could be a signifier of another push coming up. The main looks very naked. I don't see...
Yeah. I'm curious if Classic actually did read into this, because it seems like he didn't. He seems to have missed this completely. Doesn't pull right away. Barely gets the split off on the last second. That would have been catastrophic if he lost that many probes this early. But excellent crisis management.
Yeah, that almost was a full-on disaster. So, you know, you've lost 2 probes. It was 4-1 Widowmine. The Robo is now going to finish up. I assume we're going to have a third Nexus in a little bit here. But, you know, close call there from Classic. That is truly, out of all the things that can go wrong in an early StarCraft 2 game, that's one that really, I think, hits home. It's the Widowmine drop where you're just like, my screen's in the wrong place, and you just lose.
Yeah, it's just a big wake-up call, especially now that you get the alert as well that they are there, and you see the red line and everything. It's like, when you miss it, you're just like, oh my god, oh god, no, please. this should never be happening.
But you can't get anywhere as a good player if you're not really good at responding to that.
Yeah, for sure. You need to be on point with that. Thankfully, Classic, despite seeing it late, was very quick on his toes to be able to get those last second
Sorry,
splits.
what was canceled there?
I wasn't paying attention.
I didn't see, yeah.
I have no idea.
Okay, so, well, now it's 3 barracks. We have Stalker Blink done. It's pretty typical, especially post-drop like that, to have the Stalkers parked out here. But immediately, you know, ByuN's going to be pushing out. And ByuN's one of the few players that will actually shove with his army pre-medevac. Like, just to get a little bit of ground here. And, you know, the Stalkers, they're really, especially when Marines are paired with tanks, they're actually not great at this. You know, as long as you can keep the tanks back and not let them get sniped.
Ooh, using the healing shrine, I like that. It's kind of cute. We'll be able to oh my god, a blink forward onto the tank is unexpected. Does get that one since it was low HP. Does trade out a few Stalkers for it, and now is abusing this little high ground. I actually like this movement from Classic. Could have even blinked around towards the healing shrine again, but that is in range of the tank now. That is just sieged up. But now ByuN is the one that gets to find use from that. So that's good to get one tank, and it does force that siege over to the right. And since he doesn't see any medevacs, he kind of knows that any full commitment from the push would be kind of weird. So he's fully read this and is just going in with the Stalkers again. And will get the cancel on the third base.
Okay, he does manage to pull that one away. He's going to reburrow, hoping that maybe the probes will be preemptively clicked back home. Gotta say, it's kind of wild seeing that healing zone actually used. We've casted so many games on this map, I kind of forgot it was even a place. But, you know, you're seeing why you pretty much can't be on the map without medevacs. Like, Marines actually are just terrible units versus Stalkers if they don't have the ability to stim and then pick up and run away.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit awkward. Oh, well, speaking of stim, here they are.
Yeah,
getting the stim now. Unfortunately, that Raven getting randomly picked somewhere, but an Immortal getting picked off in the middle of the map as well is nice. So it looks like Classic maybe overextending just a little bit, not anticipating stim to be done at that time, and gets jumped.
Yeah, that was a funny moment. He did kind of run into the stim, and as he was running back, yeah, he didn't quite have what he needed to hold that off.
He canceled the Templar Archives from earlier for some reason. I don't know if that's a mistake.
Unless he's making 2, which I don't think he is. So
he didn't have one already done. That was being made so long ago. I think he accidentally canceled it.
But he might have canceled the early movement on the map too, and thought, oh, I don't even need to rush into Storm because I'm not being. I'm being hit now, right? Not later. Honestly, this is probably the best position I think ByuN's been in the kind of modern PvTs I've casted. Feels like he's got a lot of wiggle room here. There are charge lots out here, but there's also mines. There's one sentry here to Guardian Shield. You know, one thing about this map is the reach is pretty hard to get close to their bases. You know what I mean? It's not like the previous map we had here. Decent kiting here. The Zealots just get thinned out. That means that this clump of infantry can then dive in. He's going to come back here and heal up. The Stalkers are still intent on trying to clip these few red infantry units here in the front.
I'm kind of surprised that ByuN didn't kind of just capitalize on that. I think he's expected, because I think Classic messed up. I think he canceled the Templar Archives by accident. Like that window was so open for him to be able to just punch in there because Storm wasn't done, and now Storm is done. I think ByuN respected him too much and expected there to be something else there. Unfortunately for ByuN, miscalculating slightly, and now Classic kind of breathing a sigh of relief. We'll be able to get a Prism in the main base, and we'll actually keep these bio units back at home for just a little bit, but this is still a really nice position for ByuN.
Yeah, this was a moment where maybe it's going to be haunting ByuN for later on, because now Classic is keeping ByuN pretty occupied back there. The Observer is gliding over this army. I don't know that he's going to see it. He's probably too busy mopping up this mess inside of his base. But there's also a push happening out here. A dodge on the Storm. At least one more Side Storm in the pocket here for Classic. Oh my god, it's so low. Oh my god, that thing is full of energy. Does get one Storm off as well. We'll get to the battery, so is healed up. So unfortunately for ByuN, doesn't quite get that last hit, but nice management from Classic to keep those alive. Because if he loses these Templar at this point, then that window opens up wide again. This Prism is doing an excellent job as well of keeping ByuN preoccupied, so that way he can't fully focus on the full-on attack. No units getting streamed across the map or anything. We'll be able to just recall it right back home as well to keep it alive. So Classic doing some nice, again, crisis management, just like last game, to keep himself in the game when it looks a little bit awkward. Classic is getting really big right now. There is a small army here for ByuN that's over at the center right. It seems like Classic is basically getting ready to block that if there's a push from there. In fact, no, he's headed southbound. He is going to run right into this. And I think ByuN could just lose this almost instantaneously.
Oh, no, he's not paying attention either. That's really unfortunate for him. The speed zone's even going to help Classic to chase that as well, which is kind of cool. Not able to get too much more from that, and that's going to be a bit awkward for Classic to continue, but a nice job there. Oh, huge warp into the main. Canceled just barely late enough.
Oh my
All
God.
of the Zealots getting out of there. That's so unlucky. 16 SCVs in total dead. He's going to continue to climb as well. God, that's a brutal moment there for ByuN, who is starting to get a little bit of... he's really starting to get battered down just a tiny bit here now by Classic.
That's insane. Okay, now he's in these huge storms. You could not ask for better surface area with those side storms. I don't know that he has enough Templars behind this. In fact, this will be a really bad overextension here. All 4 or 5 of these Immortals are going to be picked off in a matter of seconds. Suddenly, this game is completely turned on its head.
What? I think there was a massive EMP on the back end on all those Templars. That's why they had to run away, and I didn't even notice this either. I can't believe, look, he's stimming up that in the red to chase these down. He knows there's nothing to defend against them, gets almost all of them. That was such a swing from ByuN out of absolutely nowhere. I was not expecting that fight to suddenly go sour after those insane storms.
That was such a weird moment because we saw the huge move with the Warp It in the main, and then we saw this good Side Storms blanket, but actually there was quite a bit.
Yeah, no,
you know,
that was a lot of
underneath that, and suddenly he lost, I think it was either 4 or 5 Immortals, which is like basically what your Robo has been making the entire game when you weren't getting the Observer or the Warp Prism. So, I mean, that's a huge deletion of tech. So we're on 5 bases here for Classic, soon to be 5 bases. ByuN has taken his own. Nice Side Storm again. Now, is it an overextension, though? I see just Zealots and Stalkers.
These units are so bruised. The medevacs have been going overtime to try and heal everything. He's not actually been able to get too many more new ones in. Yeah, use that healing shrine, ByuN. Use the map. This is the perfect moment for this.
Finally, we get to see this part of the map actually used.
Very good. Yeah, no, that's excellent for him. The upgrades are actually also pretty decent for Classic. It's kind of rare that you see the Protoss actually kind of ahead of the Terran. He's going to have his +2 finished before either of the +2s are finished for ByuN. So that's actually really nice. And the double Colossus production also rounding out is going to be super good. He's going to have 4 in total. Is there any Vikings on the field? I feel like those couple Vikings are the only ones that are actually out or about to be out right now, as something is lagging. I'm not sure what's going on.
Yeah, we might have had a freeze here. Well, we'll see what the issue is. Oh, it looks like we might actually be back in the game. Okay.
Nice.
Well, I got a little button under my desk. I just press that when things go wrong and it gets better. Okay, that's good. I was like, oh man, are we gonna get dropped here? So, right now, I mean, Classic is getting to that too big to fail point, right? Now, that being said, ByuN is maxed out, or nearly maxed out, right? So if there was a moment where he could come out here and start to flatten this part of the map, it would be huge. You can see that Classic took the first layer, that's at the very top of the map. Then there's almost like this curving second layer of bases that he's expanded into he's expanded into 3 of the 4 available bases there. And really, if Protoss has us up for a couple minutes after this, I feel like we almost never see Protoss lose.
Well, you've never seen my games, but yeah, no, this is going to be a nice spot for Classic. I think he's going to be feeling pretty good. One little unit in this. Is that a Templar? Yes, it is. Let's get a Storm drop on the PF. Oh, there we go. I was expecting 2. A little bit. Still 6 workers for that 1 is actually not bad at all. You usually see them react and nothing happens. So a nice little play for Classic. Lots of units still out though for ByuN, and especially those Vikings are actually in number as well. I was expecting there to be not too many just then, but there is a good amount. That is absolutely needed. There's 4 Colossi on the field.
Dropped 1 Templar without getting the Storm off. 2 more get their Storm shot out. God, this is really the base of the game where you do see a ton of cannons, right? Protoss just had so much money. It's like, well, why not just make more stuff that does damage? Nice micro! The shimmy with the Colossus! Oh my god!
What? This is such an awkward position.
Oh, he just taps out!
What? That was so sudden. Like ByuN coming in with such a weird engagement.
There was a Final Destination moment in that fight. Did you see that?
That was ridiculous.
Every Colossus like got out of the way perfectly, and then the Storms each hit everything that was trying to get through that bottleneck at the rocks.
Oh my god, I was not expecting a fight to just suddenly break out in that position. I thought the flank was actually going to be so good because those Colossi seemed so exposed, but Classic excellently done to pull those away and then forcing all the bio into that tiny little choke point between the rocks, and it just barely has enough Storms left over. That was I feel like the theme of this from Classic is crisis management. Like his snap panic decision making is very good so far.
Yeah, that was wild. Guys, it's been so fun putting this tournament together, building the studio space, getting it organized, but we wouldn't be able to do it without your support. So consider going to patreon.com/ReviveSC2. We no longer have publisher support, so we need to rely on you guys to fund our endeavor to keep StarCraft 2 alive. And we wanted to do it in a way that felt professionally produced, felt like a show, felt clean. So consider joining our cause.
Yes, it would be absolutely awesome. Plenty of opportunities to influence the tournament, as well as if you do get the Stalker tier or above, you can vote for maps, for players, stuff like that. We're going to be looking for more things like that to do in future seasons. So, yeah, definitely something cool to look at as well.
We're going to take a short little break. When we come back, the best of 5 here between Classic and ByuN will continue on.
Welcome back, everybody, to the RSL. I'm State. I am not Tasteless. I'll be subbing in for Tasteless, casting the remainder of this series between Classic and ByuN here with Gemini. Already 2 games in. Classic looking really good.
Yeah, I agree. We don't like Tasteless anymore, so we kicked him out. We got you in here now. We got the the real GSL caster coming on here as well. So that's always nice.
The second best English caster for GSL in Korea. Yes. Man, those first 2 games, I really like the way ByuN was looking there in game number 2 on Persephone, but Classic just absolutely seems to have his number. I was looking at the stats coming into today. After those 2 games, Classic is now 14-1 versus ByuN in the last 15 maps that they have played, looking for another 3-0 here. And for ByuN, I'm not sure exactly what the next map is going to be, but he's going to have to try and find some way to turn this around in a hurry because the momentum, it is strongly on Classic's side. Looks like Ultralev is going to be set number 3. I feel like this is one of those maps that could be a little bit better for pushes should ByuN decide to make something happen on 2 bases, but Classic has just been so rock solid, Gemini.
Yeah, I know. He's just seemingly just got the perfect response to everything. He just knows where to cut the corners here and there. You were even saying that it seemed like he even canceled the Temple Archives specifically to make sure he doesn't die to that tank push that looked like it was walking across the map. So it's like those types of things as well, where it's like I'm playing and like I never feel safe doing something like that because like what if I'm always thinking like, well, what if I'm just like misreading it? What if he's actually just going to push a little bit later and now I just don't have Storm done? But it's like Classic just kind of knows exactly what's going on. And it felt like he was actually even going to die to those the Marauder push that was just coming in when he didn't have Storm at all. But he He didn't. ByuN ran away. He feigned the like it's like a bear's running at you or whatever, and you have to like act big or whatever. So like Classic felt like almost like he was doing that kind of a thing to ByuN, and ByuN was the bear. He's like, oh god, he's like running away. He's just so scared.
That's a beautiful analogy. Yeah, that's perfect, Gemini. Wow. Yeah, it felt like that ByuN kind of had the pieces there to make something happen, but Storm just came in at such an awkward timing. He probably wasn't anticipating it. Let's see if Fate's going to go better for ByuN here in map number 3. Ultra Love is beyond the red Terran spawning in the bottom left. Classic, the blue Protoss in the top right.
Yeah, I do think, I do like this map in general, honestly. I think it's just like a very solid map. It's also beautiful. I love like all the cool little like black holes and stuff all over the place. I actually love, anytime I get this map, I actually just like it just because it looks cool. I appreciate this map.
Yeah, we've got like almost thunderstorms in the back right here. Look at the top right. Yeah.
I wonder where we are. Like, are we in space? Like, are we in like a 4th dimension? Is this like where Matthew McConaughey goes in Interstellar? Like he's just like in the the 4th dimension or something? Like, what is this?
Yeah, it is a pretty map. Well, let's see what Classic's going to bring to the table here in game number 3. I feel like just the way that game 1 and game 2 have been going for Classic, that he's kind of going to approach this in the same almost cookie cutter fashion of just standard, very straight edge PvT. Not going to see any real timing attacks out of him. You know, PvT is kind of in a funny place right now, just in general, given the change with energy recharge, because Storm comes online so much more quickly. Being able to instantly energy recharge, and get one Storm on the board is so nice for making that transition, which historically has been very bumpy for Protoss players, a lot easier. And I feel like for a player like ByuN, in early game TVP, very often it's the Terran that has this Swiss Army knife of different builds they can deploy, like Widow Mine drops, like Siege Tank pushes, like Hellion Reaper pushes, that try to get some kind of economic damage done to the Protoss to stop their growth. But given the current state of PvT, it feels like Protoss players, even when they don't go for the energy recharge hallucination scout, as Classic hasn't really been going for it in game 1 and game 2, they've just gotten so good at navigating the early game and getting up to 3 bases so quickly and so safely that, as you said, in game number 2, it seemed like ByuN, he had this one window where Storm wasn't done. He had a ball of Marauders and Marines, and he was almost at a point where he could break Classic, but as soon as that window closes, it becomes exponentially more difficult, unless you're playing like Clem, to try and close the gap.
Yeah, unless you're literally the best player in the world or something, then yeah, it's impossible to beat a Classic who's at this level lately. I mean, coming with the GSL victory as well has been super sick, so obviously wanting to repeat that, or continue it, I should say, with RSL as well. And he's just going to continue to go for the same thing, basically going for the Twilight. He's getting for the early Stalkers. Did he actually get, is this the second Stalker, or is this did he go Sentry before this actually?
I think he went Stalker Adept here, which is a little bit of a mix-up for Classic. I'm not sure exactly what the Adept brings to the table in this situation, but yeah, it's an interesting choice. Hellion's going to get caught by that Adept, immediately take some damage there as the Glade's going to hit it. And Adept and a Stalker, they pair really well. You can see Classic actually changing the focus fire on the Adept to different Marines to make sure he doesn't overkill, so the Stalkers can just finish the Orange Marines in 2 shots. So he's able to trade exceptionally well.
Yeah, I do like this because he also did something similar in the first game with the early Stalker push, but this time it's with the Adept. So Classic seems to be really just varying up just his early unit pressure a little bit and just trying to throw them at the Terran just to throw them off guard a little bit, and it seems to have worked both times. This time getting rid of the Marine count to make it so that way the Hellion is just forced to be a scouting Hellion. Nothing else to be done there. The Reaper, or sorry, in the first game, the Reaper getting killed as well to deny that extra scouting. And now these Stalkers, the Stalker is able to just come on home. I mean, sacrificing the Adept is not the biggest deal, honestly. I think this is pretty good for Classic and just able to go right to the 3rd base as normal, getting a Blink. I like this this variation that Classic likes to do, where he just throws these early gateway units across the map, and seemingly no matter what he gets.
Yeah, I actually really like the addition of the Adept too, because as you said, it's so much more expendable than an early Stalker, and the fact that it pairs well versus the Marines in these kind of situations is just so nice. As now Classic is going to spot this drop coming in. This is a Siege Tank drop with 4 Marines.
What?
ByuN's going to try and see if he can get a cancel, but with these Stalkers already out, oh, I love this hot pickup micro coming in from ByuN. Blink still maybe 20 or 30 seconds away. Hellion also running some natural expansion. No battery there, Gemini.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good. good. Keeping that alive for so long and just kind of hiding in the corner and going in at the opportune moment is great. Picking up that medevac is also good, and barely getting close enough to deny the tank from getting any more damage, but there's still enough Marines that this is still an awkward trade for Classic, and I think actually a bad one. Sure, getting the medevac is fine, but losing all these units, assumingly, I thought that Stalker, but 1 HP will be able to skitter on away, so that's also nice, but this is a little bit of an awkward trade for Classic that is trying to still, he doesn't want to lose so many Stalkers in this early game because you really don't want to remake Stalkers as a Protoss player. You want to just have your simple base amount and go with that. Finding this tank again in the middle of the map, ByuN again keeping it alive just barely, and the Stalkers also getting killed off as well. Excellent micro from both, but ByuN coming out ahead in these early skirmishes.
Yeah, ByuN, the early game's been going pretty well for him, but losing that siege tank on the retreat is an expensive loss, as now Raven is becoming to the main base. There is a shield battery here in the main, so the auto turret isn't going to get too much done. Actually can't even really focus fire down the probes on that gas, so very well parried there by Classic, as now the Reaper's going to come here into the third. Classic continuing to power up. Still no splash damage for Classic. As you were saying, Gemini, losing Stalkers like that in the mid-game, it really slows down the transition either into Colossus or into Storm Tech because it's so gas-intensive. And in this situation, it's mostly going to be a beefy gateway army that Classic uses. Is he actually going to blink into the main? No.
This time ByuN was the guy scaring the bear away, I guess. The Classic just runs on away. Doesn't want to go into those tanks, even though I think there was only one, but it's still a bit risky to try and go in there not knowing the full idea, especially with that nice building placement from ByuN as well. No battery, still in the natural, so this Raven will finally get at least a little bit of damage. Kill almost a couple more probes, but this micro is insane. I can't believe that. 3 in a row that get put down to 1 HP. That's ridiculous. You actually don't realize how hard that is to defend. Ravens are like my Achilles heel, I feel like, in this matchup. It's like those things always get damage in the mineral lines. It's absolutely ridiculous. So keeping those couple probes alive, actually a pretty big deal for Classic to be able to continue his economy going totally unscathed.
Really interesting choice by Classic to build the Robo Bay where he decided to build it there in the third base, because the Raven has certainly spotted this. And so ByuN is going to know that this is going to be the tech of choice coming in for Classic, and that it's not going to be online for a while. I wonder if this is Classic trying to bait ByuN into an attack, because he had this big powering of gateways. Charges done. The army here for Classic is very low tech, but it's very powerful. We have Immortals, +1 ground weapons will be finished, and a ton of Charge Zealots have warped in. Still no Colossus production. It's only just now starting. The Raven, again, of course, does see this, does see the Thermal Lance. ByuN's going to think he has a window, but Classic already on 5 or 6 gateways. Actually, a lot more than that. This is 8 gateways of Stalkers and Zealots just ready to go toe-to-toe with this Terran army.
Yeah, I think ByuN will be, I mean, he is at least securing his third base, so he's not going to be super committed with this push, but he does, of course, want to test the waters. You always want to try to move out as the Terran when you can, because there is still opportunity to be found with medevacs and whatnot. And this forward attack is going to be kind of delayed a little bit, but it's honestly not super tank dependent, to be honest with you. The Bio can kind of just run forward a little bit, then go back to those tanks now that they have sieged up. And the Raven is somewhere still pesking around in the back end, but ByuN is actually getting a little bit far away from the tanks. I don't think he really needs to be going this aggressive with this army. He could just walk into a full surrounder, a swell of Zealots engulfing him.
Yeah, but up until now, he's been doing a pretty good job of just using this bio to poke at the beast, so to speak, and, you know, shave away a couple of Zealots with each volley. It's been going well for him, but Thermal Lance now about 75% complete. The second Colossus is going to be on the field in a moment. And Classic is actually confident enough to peel away, what, like a dozen Zealots and maybe even a Sentry, and he's actually just going for this round.
That is a perfect timing on when those tanks actually on siege gets both of them. Should just be able to walk back with the charge box to keep them alive, but does try to go in for another one as well. Going up the ramp is risky, but he's going to try to just force it anyways. His army supply is definitely lower, but a lot of that is going to be in the reinforcements from ByuN, so he needs to be a little bit careful, make sure he has all of his Colossi here and get a couple more charge bots, but he will just continue to shove this Marauder army away, even blinking forward onto it. Classic with no fear.
Yeah, Classic with a lot of confidence moving right now with just a couple of Zealots really being the meat shield here. He wants to shave away as many of these low HP Marauders as possible. And he's actually pushing all the way into this junction between the natural and the third base. Another round of Zealots coming in. 8 more Zealots reinforcing. Plus 2 ground weapons nearly complete here for Protoss, and as soon as those Zealots have to pull away, Classic is going to be retreating right now. SCV is getting pulled. Those Colossi, I'm surprised actually. ByuN is continuing to push the issue. He's stepping forward. These Marauders so deep in the red, able to take down one of the Colossus auto turrets, also dropping. This army is likely going to get cleaned up. But in fact, the War Prism coming in at the most optimal time is able to keep this Colossus alive. This bio units, they're so low on HP, finally! The War Prism gets taken down. I think actually I prefer that trade here for ByuN because so many of the Starport units remain. I'm a little bit surprised that Classic committed that hard with literally only 8 Zealots reinforcing.
I'm surprised by both of them because Classic was down like 30 supply when he went into that from the beginning, and then it felt like ByuN didn't really need to even pull the SCVs to go and attack it, but then he did, but then he continued going, which I felt like at that point was an overextension with the Prism there, but those Vikings, the MVPs of that fight, being able to pick off the Prism with the Colossus inside as well. And now Classic's trying to scramble to get some more forward aggression to stop this attack from coming, but it's fully on the other side of the map. There's no anti-air. That Colossus is sure to die with no battery to heal it either, but the charge locks continue to just ravage all the bio on the ground.
Yeah, but with no splash damage here for Classic, he's about to have a second robotics facility come online. Okay, the Vikings do get taken out, but up until those next 2 Colossi pop here for Protoss, there's going to be a window where ByuN might be able to get something done. The medevac count is really high, and even with plus 2 ground weapons, an army of Zealots and Stalkers that Classic is going to have on the field isn't the best at taking a head-on engagement because it can just get kited eventually, right? The bio is going to be able to trade very cost efficiently with that Protoss army, but I feel like there might just not be enough army here for ByuN to exploit that window. These 2 Colossi are going to finish. ByuN waited until all of his forces were able to heal up back to full and is now pushing back onto the map. Classic taking a 5th base.
Yeah, this Zealot counterattack is going to be super critical for Classic. I love the timing of this. Knows when this bio is coming across the map, and those Zealots are going in right at the perfect time to strain ByuN's decision-making in this moment. Do you attack? Do you defend? And he's going to be forced to defend, bringing his entire army back to make sure that these Zealots cannot go unchecked. And will be able to deal with that, but that buys Classic so much time and map control. Instantly walking across the map himself. Wants to get that sensor tower to continue denying any map vision, but oh, actually is just barely in range. Will be able to get it with the Colossus until the army is forced to respond to that. This is a nice Seeker missile coming in as well. We'll be able to get a lot of that armor shred going on here, and the nice force field as well to bottle up all these units, making it very awkward for ByuN to push in, but he's actually going to go for it. I can't believe this fight, these fights that they're taking seem so strange, but seemingly working out, but completely even from both.
Yeah, I feel like ByuN lost a lot of bio trying to push through that choke point. He saw the value that the armor shredding missile got and wanted to capitalize on it, I think. And nothing really came to fruition from that. Fighting into a choke point like that, it kind of reminds me of game number 2 on Persephone when he was trying to take down that gold base. It's a similar situation where the Rock's just creating this choke point for the bio and the Colossi doing so much work. And now for Classic, that 5th base is online. He's adding in 4 additional gateways. Double Robo Disruptor production has begun. We even have a Speed Prism out on the map right now. Unfortunately, it's going to fly right into the arms.
Into the Vikings.
Yeah, directly into the Vikings. And it gets killed just before that shot popped. Man, that could have been so much damage done on the Marines and the Marauders.
That is wild. That was a millisecond away. That would have been a full radius shot. I can't even believe that. Excellent decision making again from ByuN to actually commit to that. Will be able to get it. The disruptors are going to only continue to grow in number. Observer seemingly not dying to that. Okay, the Raven vision finally coming back there. Will be able to kill it off. How many disruptors are we at right now? We're at 4 in the army, 2 more coming out. This is going to get extremely awkward now for ByuN to be able to dodge all these disruptor shots. And that is when the power really starts to swing into ByuN as another fight. Double disruptor getting thrown out will actually limit the amount that Classic can go for this, and ByuN expertly microing against all of these, doing almost 0 damage and only a little bit of zoning, but the Zealots continue to come in at the best times for Classic.
Yeah, another Zealot run by into the 3rd base, and this fight is continuing over here at the 5th of Classic. Great angle. Oh, that disruptor shot is going to get a hit off on the Marauders and the Marines. One of the Colossi will fall behind it, but the Gateway Army is standing so strong on the ground. +3 ground weapons nearly complete here for Protoss as Classic is continuing to push in. But ByuN with these reinforcements, where we're talking about the value of all these medevacs in the air, the Gateway Army just doesn't do very much without Splash.
Yeah, that is an excellent turn from ByuN. We'll be able to use those reinforcements to swing this back over in his favor. Sentry getting killed off as well is going to be awkward. No more force fields, which have been doing so well for Classic to control these engagements. The Zealots continue to stream in out of nowhere. I'm not quite sure, is that a pylon or a prism on the left-hand side there? To be able to get these coming in, at least to continue to buy him more time is excellent. Get more Colossi, get more Disruptors, get something out, because right now Classic's army is brittle. He cannot afford to take another bad engagement at this crucial moment where he's trying to replenish all of those robo units.
Yeah, with +3 infantry weapons against just +1 armor. Ooh, big disruptor shot. It's going to come down to the splash damage right here for Classic, and ByuN his forces a little bit disjointed. Bold link forward there with the Stalkers. Now trying to focus down some of these units. Marauders stimming forward are going to get one of the Colossi, but the bio count, there just isn't quite enough here on the front line. You can see on the minimap, ByuN, he's dealing with another counterattack at the third base. That's where the reinforcements are, or at least I was assuming they would be. This still hasn't been cleaned up. 5 SCVs are going to fall.
These Zealots and Harasses are doing so good for Classic. It's continually buying so much time. It's also important to note that right now, 10 medevacs are on the field. The army supply looks incredible for ByuN in some of these fights, but you have to remember how many medevacs there are and how much supply that actually takes up. This is a little deceiving when these fights actually start to break out and you start to realize, like, oh my god, Classic's kind of holding this. He's actually pushing this back. It's because there's so many medevacs out right now, and some of them are actually pretty low on energy. So the amount of actual healing that they're going to be able to do in some of these follow-up fights could be limited. So we have to really keep tabs on that as this gets really scrappy, because we're just continuing to send random units all over the place. I love hold positioning 2 Adepts behind a planetary fortress. Is an excellent move to try and deny some of that mining, and we'll even be able to save them. Classic doing everything he can to get an edge in this game.
Yeah, the harassment with the Zealots at the third base and the Adepts down to that planetary is just getting so much value. As another blink forward, these Vikings a little bit exposed here on the front line. Colossi eventually will get taken out, at least one of them. No focus fire on the low HP Colossus, so it will remain standing for now. Oh man, the damage is so evenly distributed, but ByuN coming in from the flank with more Marauders able to stem forward, and once again, the splash damage for Classic is reset down to 0. There is no Storm Tech follow-up behind this. Energy recharge, not going to be able to do very much back at home. We do have 2 more Disruptors about to pop, but these Zealots are basically all he's got.
That's an incredible swing from ByuN. I cannot believe that he was able to actually keep his units at the top alive long enough. Runs away from this Disruptor shot as well. 2 Disruptors were used in the last fight by Classic that got completely dodged, doing 0 damage in the same exact spot as well. So a bit of a misuse of some of the Disruptors in the army. EMP blanketing all of the Zealots as well. These splits continue to be so excellent. Target fire as well from ByuN. He's finally finding his groove in this series and is doing excellent here. He needs to get some of the more reinforcements getting on into this fight though, because the Zealots will start to clean this up if the medevac energy is not there. So ByuN will have to be forced back right now. But again, look at this medevac count. I can't even believe it. He's got a medevac for every single unit, it feels like. And it's going to at least deny ByuN a win for now, but Classic continues to be reeling. I mean, look at this, 12 Zealots, a Stalker and a Sentry. That is not the army you want 18 minutes in to a PvT.
Yeah, the splash damage is getting reset over and over again, and ByuN knows this is his window to get damage done. I love Classic warping in these sentries, energy recharging them and using them for Guardian Shield, but ByuN's immediately going to focus fire that one down. And this bio, I mean, there isn't enough service area. There isn't enough Zealots to get service area. ByuN is going to win game number 3. And that was a pretty impressive game. How rigorous he was, just consistently, persistently moving in to try and take down the splash damage was the complete game changer because he added that second starport so quickly. I think he added that like before he even lifted the main command center to take a 4th base. It was like a 3cc double starport, and the fact that Classic just stayed on the Robotech. He didn't go into Storm. Instead, he transitioned into Disruptors. Disruptors are very good, I feel like, as a final piece of the splash damage puzzle, but in a situation like this one, it's kind of tough to make work because, you know, your Disruptor shots, if you don't get the big connections, then suddenly you just have no splash damage on the board, right? The Colossus count,
Only one of those.
Colossus count kept getting reset, and ByuN with just vast numbers of medevacs was able to just continuously trade.
Yeah, I think it was a bit unfortunate for Classic too, because a lot of the fights that he was taking seemed to be full-on commits from him, whereas if you're going for the Disruptor style, you generally want to try to not actually go for any huge commit with a bit, units coming in for surrounds and stuff like that. You want to just try and poke and prod, shoot the Disruptor shots one at a time, bait the Terran army to try and chase into you, and get your trades that way, while Zealots are going around on the edges getting all that harassment done. The harassment was great, the Zealots were super good, but it felt like all of his engagements were a bit mismanaged for that style, and it unfortunately didn't quite work for him. Let's see if he goes back to the Storm heavy play this game, which showed him a bit more success previously.
All right, game number 4 loaded up. It's going to be ByuN spawning as the red Terran here in the top right, Classic the blue Protoss in the bottom left on ley lines. And yeah, it's an interesting choice to go on the Disruptors. I feel like you can see Classic just maneuvering with so much confidence through that third game. I think, what did I say, 14-1 coming into the last map, or the last 15 games versus ByuN. And you can kind of see, I don't want to say hubris, but it almost felt like it with how he was taking some of those engagements.
Yeah.
He was very, very bold.
It felt like he just thought he was going to be able to walk over. He didn't. He wasn't really looking, especially that one attack at the third early on, where he was down like 20 army supply.
Yeah.
It was like 117 in total supply to like 140 or something. He's like walking up as if he's 50 supply ahead. I was like, this looks weird, but I don't know. The confidence was definitely funneling through him at that point. Maybe getting a little bit humbled in that game. Maybe this is a turning point of the series.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to see a little bit more conservative play coming out from Classic here in game number 4, because game number 3, just like you, I think back to that fight where Classic pushed in down maybe 20 army supply into the junction between the natural and the third base of ByuN, and even some of those engagements where ByuN pushed across the map into Classic's third or fourth base. Classic would initially have a very good engagement and then continue to push forward and really not get that much done. So I feel like going back into Storm makes a lot of sense here on ley lines, especially a map like ley lines where it's very easy to play the kind of macro game that Classic excels at.
Yeah, no, this is a very standard map. It's definitely the favorite for the pros as well. I think it's actually the most picked map in all of the recent tournaments that have been happening and everything. So very popular, very studied, very well-versed for both these players. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if Classic goes back to the Storm stuff, but I still wouldn't even mind it if he tries the Disruptor style again, partly because I love Disruptors and I like watching them, but I feel like it still has the opportunity to work well, and I think I think Classic still kind of showed why they could still be pretty good. Some of those engagements and just the in general harassment style of throwing all the Zealots all over the place really does strain the Terran player, and if you can just get like one moment where the Zealots are in the natural or something, and then it forces the screen away from the main fight, and then boom, you get 2 fat Disruptor shots right on the army. It's like it's such a good moment. So I still wouldn't be surprised if Classic still tries to bring that back.
Yeah, I'll have to wait and see what the tech of choice is going to be here for Classic, as in game number 4, he's actually opting for the Sentry follow-up to the Stalker, so we have that Hallucinating Phoenix immediately coming out across the map. He is going to scout that ByuN is playing a rather conservative setup back at home. It was a 2-gas expand. Cyclone drop going to probably be the play here for our Terran player, as Classic just kind of doing the same old development. 1 gate into Twilight, adding in the 2nd gateway for safety, and then surely a 3rd base will soon be following, and of course with that Hallucinated Scout just getting the full picture right now.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that so many of these Terran players are going for such early Cyclones to try and deny these Hallucinated Phoenix Scouts, but they just get it anyways and see it. And the Cyclone's just sitting there and be like, well, I killed the guys. Did we deny any information? The guy's like, well, no, not really, but I appreciate that you tried.
I mean, the Cyclone is a very versatile unit, though, in the early game. Like, thinking back to some of the games where Classic was going for those early Stalker pushes or Stalker Adept pushes, a Cyclone just really shuts that down as soon as it pops, right? So it makes sense given how the meta is kind of shifting towards a little bit more aggressive play and faster shield batteries in the early game. Like, we'll often see players like Classic maybe even use 2 Chrono Boosts on the initial gateway instead of just 1 to deflect the initial Reaper. You send 2, build the batteries, and immediately throw those first 2 units cross map. But in this case, it's actually, well, look at this. It's a Cyclone drop, but not with 4 Marines. It's actually 2 Widow Mines with the Cyclone. Do not see this every day, and I think Classic with this elucidated Phoenix, seeing all of the Marines in the main base is probably scratching his head a little bit about what this drop is going to be.
Yeah, he's even positioning right now. Yeah, look at that warp in prepared. Knows exactly what's happening. The lack of information sometimes is all the things you need. Will be perfectly in position with the Stalkers coming from the right side as well. Gets the snipe. I love that movement from Classic. That is excellent. Loses the sentry for it, but well worth it. No damage at all from ByuN. I love that play from Classic.
If Classic had gone for a faster third base, the Stalkers just wouldn't be here. He wouldn't have enough army on the ground to intercept that medevac. And now he takes the win. He's like, all right, you know what? I'm going to wait until I have enough energy, probably hallucinate a Phoenix or some probes or something, take down that Widow Mine. A very nice start here for Classic, and given how late this third base is from the Protoss player, of course with Blink you can also just defuse it like this. I feel like there is a real room, or real potential in the room for Classic to get some damage done with these Stalkers. He has so many more. He's actually taking up very rapidly behind this into Storm.
Yeah, I think he just realizes how much he just completely denied the momentum from ByuN. And it's like, yep, let's get our Robo, let's get our Templar Archive, let's go right in. Let's also go right into the natural and just pick off this tank for no reason. That was insane. Loses a couple Stalkers for it, but again, not the worst trade ever. No stim on these Marines, no bunker ready. Means that that tank is just a sitting duck for these Stalkers, apparently. Classic is just taking every opportunity he can, seemingly not fazed by that last loss.
No, I think it's a really smart move, taking down that Sage tank. You lose a couple of Stalkers for it. It might not be cost efficient, but think of ByuN's build going double gas into the expansion. Oh, actually, forget about thinking about that. This Banshee getting a lot of damage done. Classic really playing light on the shield batteries in the main and the natural expansion. These Stalkers, I think, barely not going to get the Banshee. Actually, completely. That Banshee blindsided me, too,
Yeah,
not
no,
just
I didn't
Classic.
even see it in the production tab or anything. Where did that even come from?
Yeah. Oh, he's just going to sack it, too. I think this is smart coming in. He's going to get, what, 3 or 4 more probes? Oh, isn't he going to get away?
Bad.
One more hit will kill it.
No!
Oh, wow.
Oh, you deserve it. No, that's so sad.
That's
oh my
absurd.
God.
I feel like here as Classic, you warp the Templars.
Dude, you know what you do is ByuN? You never move that thing for the rest of the game. Never leave with that. Just leave it there. Let him sit. Let him wonder about it the whole time. That is so frustrating. That is going to be really annoying for Classic. I mean, one Stalker, I guess, is all that you're going to need to leave at home because it is pretty low in HP, but regardless, it is frustrating that got so many kills. The Stalker's still positioned up the front, though. Will continue to give Classic some decent map control. We'll be able to deny any units coming across, but is this medevac drop scouted is the question. Doesn't seem like it is, as everything was still sitting in the third base while this is getting dropped off, and everything allowed to unload, but Storm just barely not finished. Maybe ByuN not quite realizing this. This is going to be running away anyways. We'll just suicide them? I'm not quite sure what he's doing. Okay, we'll just try to get them as far away, but yeah, with those medevacs so low, it's so risky to try and go for an evac. We'll lose some of them, but I mean, 5 probes? Do we feel like that's worth it? I don't know. It seemed a little bit of an awkward drop.
I feel like ByuN's probably hoping to get more done with that. But the fact that, yeah, it's going to get taken down this time, though.
I kind of wanted it to live from that point on. Just coming in for 1 probe and leaving would have been so cute. It would have been so cute.
I like ByuN going through moves like that. It might have not really paid for itself, but he was able to shave off a lot of Stalkers, which it kind of a funny way also means less Storm, because you always want to have at least a small squadron of Stalkers be able to blink forward and take down units like medevacs, because so much about PvT, especially when you play just a Storm-based style, is about limiting the number of medevacs they have on the field.
For sure, and it's just, it is going to be a bit. It always feels weird when you have to remake all of those Stalkers as Classic when you lose some of them early. So some good moments here for ByuN for sure. He doesn't look. This is not the worst game we've seen out of him this series just yet, despite the fact that early Widow Mine drop or early Cyclone Widow Mine drop did get deflected totally well. He still looks pretty fine. He's powering up nicely on 3 bases right now. His supply is looking fairly healthy. He's got his +1. Ghosts are already on the way here as well. Will be just barely in time, I think, for this High Templar attack. So Classic's trying to hit a little bit of a timing before all of these ghosts start to get out, and that's actually a lot of Zealots. This is kind of a bigger timing than I was expecting, actually. He's really going to try to shove this.
Yeah, Classic's going to commit a lot to this attack, and ByuN, with these Widow Mines defensively placed like this, that is 4 Widow Mines in a beautiful arc. With such a Zealot-based composition here for Classic, I feel like you can't really get much done. The Storms are going to take down 6 SCVs and damage the bio there in the mineral line of the natural expansion. I think a very wise move from Classic to pull back, add in the Robo Bay, get some extra upgrades going with these forges. But I really like ByuN's position. I feel like this is totally playable. You know, the initial drop, as we said, didn't get too much done, but the follow-up Banshee did. And let's not forget that the reason the drop didn't get too much done is because Classic delayed his third base so long.
True. That does also just in general delay all the things that Classic was trying to go for as well. So still repercussions to be had from that early game. But regardless, this is looking like it's going to be a pretty even game going into the mid-game. I feel like in general, just the most even game of the series so far. It feels like both players just kind of have a solid footing on where they are right now. And I think Classic going back to his High Templar style that he was finding success with at first is going to give him a lot of positions to try and get something here. Also just leaving a couple random ones just in the middle of the map, waiting, lurking to see if any bio comes by. On the high grounds, trying to get little storms here and there, maybe some feedbacks as well. Absolutely love seeing this. Blinking forward as well to keep them alive is excellent. So I love these little sharking Templar moves that Classic tries to go. Even with those Templar drops, you don't normally see storm drops nowadays in StarCraft 2's lifespan, but still trying to go for them, trying to get some cool big damage. I do love to see it.
Yeah, it's some nice play coming out from Classic as he's continuing to power up. 5th base coming online. Actually a 6th base too, as he's double expanding right now as Double Colossus production ramps up. I feel like he's confident just because he has so many storms on the field right now, and he was kind of gunning for a fight, so his Gateway army, it's quite massive. There's a lot of zealots. I think he actually would want Classic, or want ByuN to move onto the field pretty soon if he had a choice, so that he could remax on some of these higher tech units like Colossi and reinforce with those. But as it is right now, Classic just retaining complete map control. You can see the vision is exceptional here for Classic. And ByuN, he is going to be taking a 4th base, but a lot of this is going to come down to the next engagement, because Classic, once these additional Nexi come online, his economy is going to be through the roof. Yes, the worker counts are mostly even, but the saturation will be much better for Protoss.
Yeah, I do think that ByuN is going to be still finding himself in a decent spot, considering the fact that he's set up 4 bases pretty safely this game. He's had no real threat to his 3-base setup, and now going into 4 as well, so this is going to be pretty good. +1 air on the production now, and double Stargate for Classic, so realizing what this game state looks like, going to go for the very late game transition as fast as he can, likely going to be carriers, right? Surely.
I would think so.
Yeah. Oh, nice EMP actually catching these Templar in the middle of the map. That's nice. Would have gotten a massive storm otherwise. So we'll see how this carrier transition does come out, though. This is the first time we'll be seeing this today. And I feel like it is a bit of a tough thing to try and just whip out of nowhere. So Classic needs to make sure he is still on the map and finding these little engagements to keep ByuN away while he goes for this big transition.
Man, unless we get some really money storms, I feel like ByuN's standing army is so much better than what Classic has on the field right now. He's warping in 5 more Templars, so there's, in a moment, going to be a lot more storms available. One of these Colossi getting caught with a little bit of a bad rally. That storm not getting too much done, but the follow-up one there on the ramp, really zoning away the bio. So many of those units now deep in the orange and the red. They're going to have to get healed up by those medevacs. I feel like this is good for Classic. I'm actually kind of surprised that he's warping in more Stalkers instead of starting. This is, man, the tension here.
I can't believe that Templar is even there. Like, what is that trying to go for? Like, is that like trying to find a 4 medevac drop on the right side or something? Like, so out there, but likely, or thankfully, ByuN will see that, doesn't get stormed or anything, but it seems like the carrier transitioning is not going to happen just quite yet, because we're obviously maxed as Classic, so he's going to need to be able to take some kind of engagement or just shed off some of these units to actually start going for that. I wouldn't be surprised to see if he just splits off some Zealots somewhere. It looks like he's trying to push up into this forward base, but it's going to be very awkward with these tanks set up. Kept alive from the early game is very nice, so we'll be able to keep that safe, no low ground shenanigans, and a factory even finding value late into the game. Love it.
Yeah, I love that factory there. By the way, ByuN right now starting 4 command centers, an extra-orbital and a planetary, so he is absolutely getting ready for that late game. Big fireball coming in. That storm, I mean, they all stand right on past it, so these Marines and Marauders are able to quickly shoo away this small gateway force. And with these upgrades coming online here for ByuN, it seems like we are probably going to be going into that late game, and maybe this is what Classic was anticipating with this very fast double Stargate transition. I feel like we're seeing it much faster than we normally do. Maybe it's PvT, I mean, we frankly very rarely see it, even in late game in PvT, but we're just kind of trending in that direction where ByuN is going to eventually have enough orbitals that he can start sacrificing SCVs, have a better army on the field. And we have 2 more Stargates getting thrown down for Classic as he pushes into this planetary fortress. Storm able to connect with some of the Marines, some of the Marauders there on the side. Now going to try and take down all these SCVs so there isn't too much repair on that planetary. Finally, it will get taken down, but with no more Storms left, how much value is ByuN going to be able to get on the retreat? It seems like not very much, as Classic just a little bit ahead of him, retreating back to the top left side of the map.
Yeah, I do like that little poke. Will at least get rid of some of his supply while killing a lot of the economy from ByuN as well as one of the bases, so that's really nice. And will allow Classic, if he wants, to start up his late game transition, which will be carriers, or sorry, Tempest apparently, not the carriers, and a mothership. Now that's very interesting. We haven't even seen any ranged liberators yet from ByuN's side, so I'm actually curious why Classic is even gonna go for this Tempest transition. Usually it's gonna be carriers just to have a really big, beefy army that just does so much damage. Tempest feel like they're not really, like compared to in PvZ where you're using them to dislodge the lurkers and whatnot, unless they're going for the range of liberators and everything, it feels like the Tempest don't really find insane value in a late game Protoss army versus Terran, but we'll see how it ends up going this game. I mean, Classic obviously much better than I, so always welcome to learn exactly how this works. I personally don't even really go for these late game transitions very much, so I'm curious to see how well the selection is going to do.
Triple expand for Classic right now. One of these Nexus will get denied. I think the decision that Classic is making, hold that thought, this is a lot of bio coming in. Right now at the 5 o'clock base, Recall is going to pop. That's 2 Colossi, a ton of Stalkers, but the Marauders and the Vikings right on top of it. Immediately, one of the Colossus gets taken down. A little bit too bold of a recall there for Classic, and ByuN called the bluff. Another expansion going to get taken down, as well as some key splash damage units. No more robo units on the ground right now, as ByuN is just everywhere, forcing more Storms out over here. He's able to deny the mining from that base in the center of the map. Huge EMPs also catching those Templar. There isn't very much DPS left in this army. Tempest, they're more of a unit that you use to shave away medevac, shave away Vikings just like this. You don't want them fighting Bio head-to-head in the situation like this one. Luckily, with the reinforcements coming in from Classic, he is able to stabilize, but ByuN got so much value out of the last minute of trades.
Yeah, this is getting really, starting to get a bit scrappy here. You see Storms just kind of getting flown around everywhere as all these bio units trying to find any little spot that they can find to get some damage. And I feel like at this point, Classic is I mean, it's kind of awkward now because he's just kind of sitting here with all these Tempests and he kind of has to do something with them, it feels like, because you have such range. You need to try and find a poke and find little areas to do something with them, but when you're being forced back and kind of reset on some of your robo units and whatnot, you feel very brittle. You don't feel like you can just kind of confidently walk across the map, especially when there's so many ghosts still out. Why are there Templars still in the most random locations? I can't believe how far spread he is with some of these. I can't even believe he's keeping track of them at all. But yeah, this is getting gonna get pretty long, I feel like. Oh, nice indeed.
I think I'm starting to see the idea come together here for Classic. Of course, ByuN I think these great plays. The overarching strategy here on ley lines for Classic. If you look at the expansions here in the very center of the map, on the mini-map, another expansion gets denied here by ByuN. There's this kind of dead zone area with static defense and Storm like this. Classic could, in theory, force a split map situation where ByuN can't take these 2 center bases, but ByuN with all these Vikings actually just going to take the fight. Massive Storms catching both the Vikings and the Bio on the ground, doubling up on the damage, hitting units in the air and on the ground, but once those Tempests dissipate and the Colossi as well, again, it's kind of the same story. This Gateway army on the ground doesn't have too much value left, but at the same time, the Storms were just so huge, Gemini, that ByuN also is severely lacking.
How is that an even trade? There's no way to that start out with that many Storms and so many Vikings just eating them that ended up in a totally normal trade. I can't believe that. But it's gonna just reset essentially here. Both players just kind of forced back to their bases to try and reassemble, get all of their stuff back, set up again. And like you said, it does kind of allow a split map situation to come out, but the rotations are still possible from Classic as well. And then having so many Nexus all over the place, he could easily just recall to another side of the map. Oh! Even with the Mothership, how about? That's another way you can do it. Getting on top of this base on the right-hand side, Storms going off with the Time Warp as well. Unfortunately, just barely doesn't get the PF, but I love the move from Classic.
Yeah, that is an awesome play. I saw that coming in. I thought it was a Nexus recall, maybe to the center of the map. but using the Mothership. If you have enough Tempest like this, I guess in theory, you could take down planetary bases so quickly and then immediately recall either to the Mothership or to another Nexus, and immediately he's pivoting back here. I think there might have been another recall to the top left expansion. He's going for another base.
Yeah, this is excellent.
It's like he's playing a game of whack-a-mole, just taking down these expansions with recall after recall after recall. So far, only one of them going down. And right now, ByuN, he's trying to find an angle. Some really good EMPs, again, catching 2 of these Templar. But this is not an inexpensive trade here for Classic. A moment ago, he had the better bank than his opponent. And even though ByuN, he is taking, you know, some hits on the chin, right now, he's the player with the better bank. He has been so much more cost-efficient. I feel like Classic isn't really getting the damage done that he needs. ByuN is navigating this very tough situation incredibly well.
Yeah, I know. Classic is playing this like a PvZ sometimes, where you see the Mothership going back and forth and you're recalling around to try and dodge all the Spore Forests and the Broodlords and everything. But this time, able to do it in PvT as well. The Liberator spotting this Mothership and will be a bit outmatched, I feel like.
I've never seen this 1v1 in my life.
Yeah, no, there's a first time for everything, State, for me as well. So yeah, that's going to be at least scouted, so at least we know where that Mothership's going to be coming from as ByuN. But coming in from the top side with the rest of his army, we'll try to pounce on this army of Classic. EMP's getting blanketed over everything. Storm's also getting some nice connections, but the HP of everything's starting to slowly dwindle out, but the charge lots continue to do well on the ground once everything is said and done. Templar getting EMP'd from the right side. That was excellent from ByuN to keep himself alive in this moment, but still so many Tempests are here on the map, and this is a really difficult spot to try and dislodge.
Oh, with so many Tempests. I mean, ByuN, he's producing Vikings 10 at a time. He's trying to deal with this as quickly as he possibly can, but the fact that so many Tempests remain after that engagement, it's going to be hard for ByuN to really get a grip on this situation right now. I think the initial engagement was so good. He was able to shave away a lot of key units. The EMP was clutch, but attacking into a position like that one with so much static defense is a Herculean task for the army that ByuN had, because he needs to rely so much on the Vikings to kill the Colossi, to kill the Tempest. There isn't enough firepower on the ground to quickly mow down all of that static defense. And now we have another situation where Classic is remaxing. He's adding in a Phoenix Field as one Liberator, but the Tempest count is so high. How many Vikings do we actually have? I feel like this must be like 16 Vikings in total.
I can't believe how fast he remade these. That's like actually ridiculous. The amount of production on the field right now for both players is absurd. I mean, the time warp is very nice here to try and get more pot shots, but unfortunately, the Mothership is suicided to deal with that, or to actually get that off. There is a nuke in play possible for ByuN. We'll see where he wants to try and throw that at a base or try to actually dislodge the army or something. But these Tempests, God, look at once they can actually get on top of a base without anything firing back, that just gets deleted so quickly with the upgrade there against structures as well. This is going to get very awkward for ByuN to actually try and continue into this. These ghosts are just suiciding themselves as well into the fight. That's so unfortunate for ByuN, mismanaging a little bit now that things are getting really scrappy. He needs to try and keep those alive. I feel like that was a lot of the ghosts at that point. And you also notice now, you were saying earlier that ByuN was the one with such a good bank. He's now the one that has got less than 200 gas in his bank at this point. When you're trying to make this many ghosts, this many Vikings, you need a gas bank. And this is not something that a Terran usually has to suffer with, because usually they're the one banking so much gas. But I mean, this is going to get pretty awkward if this continues to go this way for ByuN.
Man, Classic moving in again at this 5 o'clock position. Vikings able to snipe down at least one of those Tempests, but the bio will get cleaned up here by the Nexus. Big Storm again, catching a lot of these Vikings. They are trading relatively cost efficiently right now with Classic, but the remax potential for Classic is huge. We have a big warp in of Zealots. One Storm available right now for Classic with this army. Tempest count reset down to 4, but the Viking count also is very low at 5. And for ByuN, I mean, I know this guy loves his Marines, but he can't really afford to make anything else right now.
Yeah, that's really brutal for him. I mean, his army supply is massive compared to his opponent. He's got so few SCVs, but the Storms are going to do so well against what is basically just a bunch of ghosts. I mean, the EMPs, though, are going to continue to come out, and this is going to be very difficult for Classic to actually continue to fight into this. The Time Warp just being thrown down to try and keep the bio away from him. And other than just 2 Templar, we don't really have much splash damage from Classic. And so even though there are just basically ghosts, it's very difficult to actually kill these off. The charge lots need to get on top, and they will try to do so. This is getting very scrappy.
Yeah, another blink back behind the static defense. 2 more Colossi just finished up. They're going to be joining forces with this army, and it looks like Classic, he's just going to lose another base. He's going to accept that loss, wait for the reinforcements. That is a lot of Templar.
Good lord. I thought he was going to try to do a bunch of feedbacks or something because he wasn't morphing them into Archons right away, but I guess he probably still could if he could get them just barely close enough. I mean, the Tempests are still here, so it's still possible to try and take little pot shots here and there. Once the bio actually gets pretty low in HP, the Tempests can actually kind of hold their own a little bit. You don't really expect it when the actual fight breaks out, but when it gets really scrappy, the Tempests can actually just start one-shotting all the remaining units. And if that ends up happening, it could be very good for Classic, of course, but he still needs to try and bolster up his splash damage overall, because you need that in this type of a late game situation.
Our Observer Matbu just giving us the lay of the land right now in terms of SP and geysers. A lot of them running out in the initial bases. One of the reasons why ByuN, his gas count is so low at this point is because those exterior bases keep getting taken down. We have a Viking, not a Viking, a nuke getting dropped right now on this center base. Does Classic actually see this?
I think he saw it last second right there.
He's going to lose at least one Templar. Oh man, that Templar.
He even recharged that before it landed. He knew he was away. That was some confidence right there from Classic. We'll be able to keep those alive, so Nuke not able to do much but zone the units away. The scans continue to come out from ByuN as well to make sure he continues to have detection. A nice time warp on the left side of the arm, but the EMPs over almost all of the High Templar. No storms available in this fight. The bio going ham on the bottom, getting up close into the Colossi. Vikings also not getting touched. Huge EMP again on the bottom side, but the charge lots again are the thing that are trying to keep this fight going for Classic. Vikings getting landed everywhere. This is absolutely ridiculous. One final storm getting thrown down. Is there enough reinforcements? There's Templar coming from every which side. ByuN is forced to run away despite the fact that Classic is only on 120 supply.
Oh, those Archons getting some very big shots on these ghosts, man. The Archon countering the ghost is not something you see every day. Usually the EMP just pops them, but those ghosts are already so low on energy, and you can see how much splash damage those Archons can do. The ghost count instantly reset. It's just pure bio. But that engagement for ByuN was just masterful. It was so cost efficient. Now more mules getting dropped. And Classic, he has to spend the remaining money that he's got very wisely. No longer does he have the deep pockets. He's going to warp in a lot more Stalkers, a lot more Zealots, and add in 2 more Colossi. That's the choice from Classic. We're not going to have the Tempest fleet in the air anymore. It's going to be a purely ground-based army. I think this is a smart pivot, given the fact that ByuN has been so commanding on the ground. 8K resource loss advantage for ByuN. If we have another engagement, posturing there for Classic. I thought he was going to go for it, but he's just barely shying away. This expansion probably going to get taken out.
I love this now as well for ByuN, knowing that the Tempests have been reset, going right back into Liberators, because that's when they start to shine. Nothing to poke away at them from far away. Range also already been on them for a long time as well, so it's very, very, very difficult for Classic to actually push into this army. The zoning is excellent from ByuN, unfortunately walking a bit far into those storms. The storms, despite being EMP'd so often from ByuN are still what are keeping Classic alive. Having so many of them from all different parts of the map, come from different angles and at weird times as well has been very good for him. It's a bit difficult for Classic to actually ByuN to actually force out his way into this base, of course being up on a high ground, so he's gonna have to just settle for this base at the front and maybe just relocate a little bit or just re-siege with some of these Liberators.
Yeah, those storms. ByuN has been so clutch with the EMPs thus far as another engagement's going to take place right now. Vikings are getting finessed by these Tempests. They all get taken out, and is ByuN going to try and push up this choke? It seems like he actually is, stimming forward, and then a little bit of a hesitation move, pulls right on back. Those Colossi getting so much damage. More Vikings joining the fray. This very low HP Colossus will survive. Right now, the army for ByuN, as it stands, much better on an open field. Classic. It's a bit of a dangerous move moving into the center of the map like this. Is ByuN going to try and capitalize? He stims forward the bio very low on HP because we're mostly just remaxing with Vikings right now as Terran. Is it going to be enough? The bio, it's so low, Gemini.
This is ridiculous. The EMPs continue to blanket these Templar. They're barely able to get out any storms, but the charge lots just keep swarming in on the reinforcement every time. The bio continues to be so low that we can't keep these bio units alive from the charge lots. The most basic unit of the Protoss. pulling its weight in these engagements. It's I mean, I can't believe how many of these Vikings keep getting flattened as well. We keep resetting the Vikings, resetting the Tempest, switching back and forth between them, and it's really hard to actually get a gauge on where these fights are supposed to be going. What units are they supposed to be making? Because now at this point, Classic is just losing things left and right as the reinforcements from ByuN really start to all come together in this midpoint.
Classic's got almost no mining left right now. I'm watching the mineral count at the bottom, and it is trickling up so slowly. I feel like ByuN, he has weathered the storm. He's going to try and push in right now for the win. Classic fighting for his life in this game. He does not want to go to a game number 5, but I think ByuN's going to take us there. GG. Wow, that was an epic PVT. And we got one map left. Man, ByuN, every game he is getting stronger, and he looked so good in that last map.
That was a banger. That was what we've been waiting for. The first 2 games, a little bit of a stomp overall, but that's the last game before this one, very good. This one, an excellent display of late game superiority from both players, honestly. It felt like it was really down to the wire. I love whenever the games get this late and this scrappy, where they're kind of turtling a little bit on like the high-tech late game air units and stuff like that, but then once the fights start to get ridiculous, then it's just a full reset on the ground, and it's just like anyone's game at that point. Charge lots are winning the fight, Marines are winning fights out of nowhere. You get like 2 Vikings that come out of nowhere to push the fight into your favor. It gets really scrappy, really crazy, and I think ByuN, he's very I feel like tenured in that style where things get really crazy chaotic. He can just kind of weather that storm and just let the chaos work for him, and we saw it in that game.
Yeah, that was, I have to say, probably one of my favorite PVTs that I have seen so far this year. I feel like the style that Classic deployed, specific to ley lines, where he was going in with such a high Tempest count, he was triple expanding at some point, not even a double expand, a triple expand, and basically just trying to consume his half of the map and then use this roaming party of Tempests with Mothership Recall, with Nexus Recall, to kind of pivot his position instantly across the map and snipe planetaries. It didn't really come to fruition, but that's a concept that I haven't really seen played around with very much in PvT. It's more of a PvZ thing. And it makes sense that Classic, I mean, one of the best PvZ players in the world right now, if not the best PvZ player in the world right now, who just won a GSL largely on the back of his PvZ, is deploying this now in PvT. That was such an interesting take. And it felt like when it was working at the very beginning, when we had, what, 1 or 2 bases, maybe even 3 bases go down there for ByuN, and suddenly, you know, those are the expansions where Terran is getting most of their gas income, right? Because the gases, they're starting to mine out in the main base, in the natural expansion, at the 3rd base. Suddenly he had like 2,000, 3,000 minerals and no gas.
Yeah.
And you're kind of in dire straits in that situation because you need to very quickly retake those expansions. You need to resaturate those geysers. That takes time. And you also need to make sure you're getting value with the army that you have on the field right then, because you can't just wait with only minerals until you remax and have a gas income, because by then the Protoss army is going to be so much more advanced. It's going to be so much more technical. Classic with full gas income, and ByuN, he was somehow able to make it happen. He took down multiple expansions on the south side of the map. I think it was 2, maybe even 3 Nexuses went down. So a little bit of tit for tat, and then this very funny balancing act that we saw both players do, especially as the bank started to run dry, where they have to do the calculus of, okay, how much, as ByuN, how much do I commit to Vikings? How much do I commit to Liberators and Medevacs? And then for Classic, it's like, okay, I'm losing the army on the ground, but the Tempests are carrying me in the sky because I'm able to take these very few cost-efficient trades. Most of the other trades have been cost-inefficient for me. How do I balance that? It was something I feel like I basically have never casted in a PvT. I feel like I've seen other games like that play out, but never quite like that. It was just so technical on both sides, and I am really impressed with ByuN being able to come back from a position where I had almost written him off in the mid game. It seemed like when he had no more gas bank, he was done.
Yeah, no, I was kind of agreeing with you at that point as well. It felt like once the banks start to get ridiculous, when as a Terran player, if you're losing gas, it feels really bad because you need the ghosts to be able to really stay in a game. You can't mass Marines in a 30-minute game and expect to win. I mean, charge lots also not really, but they can still kind of hold their own in the same, not in the same way that Marines can. So having a Terran lose that much gas that late is pretty bad. I also do want to just mention as well for Classic with the warp, the recalls and whatnot on the sides. I also kind of like, usually you see them go into the main base. Yeah, at some point to try and disrupt the production and just really put a stamp in the Terran. But I feel like going for the right and the left sides more allows him to still retreat from the recalls to make so it's not like super committal, whereas the main base ones always feel like unless you have another recall already ready, you can't actually get out of there. And I think Classic, his game plan was never to be like that, which is kind of like what you were saying as well. So I like that play as well.
All right, it's all going to come down to a game number 5 here in the first series of the RSL Season 1 playoffs. ByuN, the red Terran spawning in the top right, Classic, the blue Protoss in the bottom left. And what a series this has turned out to be.
Yeah, I was honestly expecting it to be a bit of a 3-0. There was a pretty dominant 2 first games from Classic initially, but the rebound from ByuN has been exceptional at this point. So it's honestly anyone's series at this point. I'm not even going to predict someone to win at this point. It's very equal. Tokamak as well, a very nice standard map to close it off on as well. So I'm not really sure exactly if ByuN is going to be going for any of those early aggressive things that he was trying for either earlier, because it felt like those were getting they were getting deflected fairly decently, the early drops and whatnot, but it was like the random things that you didn't expect, like the random Banshee or the random random tank push that didn't really actually have commit, but then committed a little bit later that did damage. So I'm curious to see where ByuN kind of takes this early approach.
Yeah, I feel like winning a late game like that versus Classic here has got to give ByuN a lot of confidence in the way he can approach this game. Because we have seen so many Terran players, especially at the very beginning of this patch, kind of approach PvT, or TVP I should say, in almost an all-or-nothing fashion, where, because of Hallucinating Phoenix being deployed so often with energy recharge, especially at the start of the patch, Terran players can no longer mind game the Protoss in terms of, what kind of harassment am I going to hit you with in the first couple of minutes? Is it going to be a Hellion drop? Is it going to be Cloak Banshee? Is it going to be some kind of Liberator or Raven play? Will I go for Widow Mines? Will I go for Cyclones? Like I said, there's a Swiss Army knife of builds that Terrans have been using for years and years and years. And Protoss has always been a little bit in the dark about what that is, unless you sacrifice a lot, frankly, by going for a fast sentry without energy recharge. And so the meta kind of shifted away from that into a new, different game where instead of the mind game of, or not even necessarily the mind game, but the fog of war of not knowing what the Terran is going to do with the initial harassment, it became more about when are they going to pull the SCVs? And you would see some Terran players like Curious sometimes pull the SCVs in situations where the timing might not even have been optimal, but they do it because it's not optimal, so the Protoss player isn't expecting it. It's a very funky dance. But with a game like that one from ByuN, I feel like having confidence in your late game gives you a lot more freedom to navigate the early game of TVP. Because, yes, ByuN was in a pretty good position heading into the mid game, but it was still very even, He didn't head into the late game like he had some big advantage, and that's what carried him through. He was absolutely able to go toe-for-toe with Classic. And so I wonder if we're going to see him play kind of with his eyes set on just slowly, incrementally expanding as opposed to going for another timing attack.
Yeah, because, like you said, he definitely actually found his footing for once in that game, and it felt like he doesn't need to rely on any sort of early aggression to actually find a win here. He went full-on, in a full-on late game against Classic and was able to put up. So I think he would feel fairly comfortable trying to go for something similar again. Maybe not into the super ultra late game like it was last game, but still trying to just not make it so that way he's forcing himself into some 2-base attack or some SCV pull or whatever. So, so far it looks like that as well. He's just going to go for a very passive opener, just going for a Cyclone Widow Mine thing again. Looks like he's going to just keep the Cyclone back at home and just go for the Widow Mines this time. Doesn't want to waste everything across the map in case it gets denied again, but Classic is going to be, once again, the person that needs to find this drop. Just barely misses it with the probe. That's a bit unfortunate for him, but hopefully we'll still have things... No way does he go back. Okay. That
double fake.
That would have been ridiculous. Things not quite in position at the natural. We'll get a Stalker warped in. Will he get the pull in time? He will. Very nicely done from Classic. Excellent. And honestly, just one probe being killed for that is all you really could ask for. 2, again, totally fine.
I don't mind that for ByuN, though. You're losing one Widow Mine for three probes, and I guess the Cyclone got one of them. But a lot of mining time lost there for Classic too. You can see him retargeting with a Widow Mine between the probe and the Stalker, just buying as much time as possible. And I feel like there's a little bit of dead airspace here. Is there not? There must not be, because ByuN's not even. I could have sworn there was.
Oh my goodness.
Well, all right, well, suddenly that becomes a lot worse.
Yeah, that is not how that generally is supposed to go. So that's a bit unfortunate for ByuN. I was even just staring at his webcam to see if he had any reaction, but it didn't seem like he did. So I'm not sure if he just knew that it was trapped and was going to die anyways or something. I'm not quite sure. But the Banshee is on the field again, and so that was the thing that really swung the early game for ByuN last game. Despite the fact that the Widow Mine drop got deflected, the Banshee was able to find the damage. Of course, Classic should be more prepared this time, given the fact that it was already happening last game. We'll probably expect the same thing. Does have his Stalker prepared for that. Mutiny against his own Cyclone. Says, I don't want this trash unit anymore. Get rid of that.
that was not a changeling.
Yeah, no, they don't grow that big. It's not possible.
We've all been there. It's a bit of a bummer, but in any case, ByuN, he's going for the 2-on-1 opening. It looks like this is probably going to build up to some kind of siege tank pusher at the third base, but I feel like this isn't going to be super heavily committed. Just looking at the timings right now with Stim and Combat Shields, it's not really lining up for some kind of potentially game-ending push. But you know, Classic's been doing such a good job over the course of this entire series, frankly, of finding damage on these siege tanks with these Blink Stalkers. One of them very low on HP, and actually ByuN kind of fishing for those Stalkers to try and come out, you know, try and snipe this siege tank, walk into three tank shots, please.
I love it as well that he scans just to confirm. He's like making sure that there's no observer on top of him, just like watching him sit here like an idiot, just like waiting for them to walk into him. Confirms there's nothing there, so we'll kind of continue. We'll kind of commit to it for a little bit, but Classic's not biting. We'll just stay back with his Stalkers for now. Doesn't want to go too far across the map, knowing that he doesn't have that high ground vision, so he will not try to just walk into those tanks. And that's just going to mean that ByuN can just sit back, take his third base. The damage done in the early game is not incredible. It's not anything game-altering. So we're probably going to just find ourselves in a pretty solid situation for Classic. And I mean, ByuN is going to be now the one to try and respond a little bit.
Yeah, and Classic is powering up very heavily right now on three bases. He cut probe production right here at 61, so he has just enough to saturate the mineral lines and the Vespene geysers that he's taken, and he's not making any more probes, so it seems like he doesn't have his eyes set on getting a fourth base anytime soon. It seems more like he is trying to just brace for the impact of ByuN's push, but ByuN has already taken the third base, and probe production is starting again now. This Classic, I feel like, is realizing that this is not a situation, as those probes probably should get back to work here in a moment, where ByuN is going to be going for some kind of big timing attack.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what exactly we're going to be doing for the transition after Colossus. Is it going to be, once again, the Disruptors, or are we going to go into a later Storm as Classic? That's what I'm kind of looking for right now. As of course, he's going to be just sitting here with his four bases, second Robo already there, so that means it is going to be those Disruptors, so it will be a little bit more like the other one, or the other game that we played as well, so not really working for Classic that time, but again, I don't feel like that's because of the Disruptors. I feel like it's just kind of the way that the game fell, and I think he can find a way to make these work this time.
I feel like the early game has been a little bit easier here for Classic compared to map number 4. You know, he took the faster third base and didn't really necessarily get punished for it, whereas he took the late third expecting to be safe, and the Banshee got, what, 6, 7 kills in the main and bought a lot of time. So Classic, he's going to have a very powerful army. Once more, it will be the Disruptor tech coming in. He's going to take this gold base. I love this from Classic when you're playing a style like this one that's low on gas and you're adding a lot of powering units. Take that gold base, you know, just try and go for map control. And I think actually, looking at the minimap, I believe we have a gateway and a pylon proxy to the top left.
Love it.
For Zealot run bys later. So Classic just really embracing the mentality of having map control right now. He's gonna go for a drop here at the natural expansion. There are Marines in place to deflect this, so he'll just quickly retreat with most of these Zealots. And I mean, just watching the minimap, does he have another gateway? He has gateways and pylons at the 3 o'clock and the 11 o'clock position on the map right now.
Honestly, this is underutilized. I feel like, it feels like you should. It feels like pro players should be doing this more, and like myself as well, and just other players. Like you don't see gateways with pylons out in the middle of the map. Like it's always just the prisms, or it's just Zealots getting rallied from like a third base or something. Like why don't we do this more? like it's actually so good. Like we can just get zealots flowing nonstop. The Terran or whoever is not going to expect it as much, so they're probably not going to go hunting for the gateway. So it's probably going to stay there for quite a while as well. And I think that's going to me. I think this is kind of leading towards my point that I was making earlier today as well, where the Disruptor style really relies on these zealots constantly flowing from other sides of the map. So to have these gateways positioned in such a nice location, it's really going to allow Classic to try and go for that.
We have a third Robo halfway done right now, Gemini.
That is so based.
It's going to be 3 Robo Disruptor coming in for Classic.
I love this, man.
And one of the best moves about this, too, is we just saw 5 additional gateways finish up, is that the gateway count is going to be so high. Actually, all that thought is Classic. He's going to push right on in, even with an aggressive blink. Not necessarily overeager because he does have the disruptors to zone away the bio. Those defaults I feel like probably should get lower, but instead, I mean, ByuN, he's going to focus instead on just trying to deal with the situation at hand. Another Zealot drop going to come into the natural expansion. This time there are not Marines to shoo it away, and that's going to open the door for Classic to push again into this third base. Disruptor shot once again, zoning out the army. These other disruptor shots that, you know, they went for the initial volley earlier. They've been able to recharge. That command center going to have to lift off. 22 SCVs have fallen. There are so many gateways on the field right now for Classic. This third base might even get taken down. SCVs, they don't know where to go. The Vikings, they're fishing, and now we have all these SCVs just melting to the Colossi. GG is called in one fell swoop. Classic is able to topple ByuN and secure the series win 3-2. I mean, that was such a cutthroat move.
That was like so sudden. I was not expecting the game to end right there.
Yeah, neither was I.
Like that was so decisive to be able to just notice that he could get a timing like that. Like I don't even the Prism getting into the main base was obviously great. At first it looked like it wasn't going to do too much in the natural, but then getting in the main, a huge warp in, forcing so many units back, and then ByuN was scrambling. Like he couldn't get a pre-split set up. He couldn't allow himself to just kind of get on top of the, like, not necessarily actually dive the disruptors, but just to get on top of the like the mind game control, where it's like, you know, am I baiting it? Am I running away? Do I get a nice little pre-split going? He ate the disruptors. They were just right in his face, and Classic just somehow finds this perfect moment. I'm blown away that he was able to end it like that.
Yeah, that was a pretty explosive finish that I feel like a lot of people probably weren't expecting. I certainly wasn't expecting it as Classic was moving into the third base, but he's going to be the first player to advance today into the upper bracket semifinals of the playoffs. And guys, if you want to support the RSL, of course, we do have a Patreon. We also have merch. You can go to tastelessthreads.com. Patreon supporters enjoy a 20% discount on all Tasteless TV merch. You got your hoodies, you got your mugs, you got your shirts, and as Gemini is a very big fan of, the pins.
I love the pins, man. You can put them anywhere you want. Your backpack,
we gotta get a couple RSL pins onto your shirt.
Attach a magnet to the back and make it a fridge magnet if you want to.
Oh, that's
get
next
crafty
level.
with it. Whatever you want. You can get the shirt as well, as I'm wearing right now, and it looks very nice. It fits very good. It's very cozy and comfy. I like it.
All right.
That's all I got.
Guys, we're going to go to a short break. When we get back, RSL is going to continue with Cham versus Clem. We'll see you in a minute.
Yo, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for waiting. What an insane series that was. We had a break after game 2, and you know, we're going to rotate casters around, and I was saying, like, I don't think it's going to be a long series, so have fun. Could not have been more wrong about that.
Yeah, that was... It kind of was shaping up to be a quick series, too, after Game 1 and Game 2, and then ByuN just came back with a vengeance. It felt like every single map he was getting stronger, and that culminated in, what, Game 4 was like a 30-plus minute epic PvT. One of the best late-game PvTs I feel like I have seen in a long time.
Yeah, I loved... We didn't get to really see this at